Welcome back, everybody. Today we have something a little bit different than what we typically do here, but it just came to my attention that there has been a law passed, as of right now anyway, in Nevada, and honestly, it's very broad and very unconstitutional in my opinion. But I wanted to get somebody who knew a little bit more about that than I do, so we invited FPC and their attorneys to come on, one of them anyway, and kind of walk us through this because I read the brief on it over at FBC's website today, and sort of the scope of it was so broad that I almost didn't think it was real, but from what I understand, it is real. So, could you introduce yourself and then sort of walk us through what's going on?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. So I'm Bill Sack. I'm one of the attorneys with the Firearm Policy Coalition and-house legal team. And I assure you this law is very real, at least for the time being.
Yeah. So specifically, it has to do with what would be traditionally known as ghost guns or self-made guns, to include 80% lowers as well as 3D printed stuff. If you own a machine shop, if you own a forge, basically, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it basically prohibits all of those, and then also doesn't have any sort of grandfather capability to the law. So that way, if somebody is in Nevada and they have like an 80% Glock frame, then they are committing a crime. Correct?
So yeah, the law is broad, and there's lots of problems with it. It's overbreadth being the least of them. So the law, in short, prohibits the purchase, possession, sale, offer for sale, or transfer of any unfinished firearm, receiver, or frame. And there's a definition of that set forth in the law, which is in itself problematic, as well as any completely finished and operational firearms that are self-manufactured and unserialized. So you can't own them if they're pre-existing, own them now, and you can't build anymore. So the law, in terms of the grandfather clause, there's problems there as well. So basically, effective immediately, as of Tuesday when the law was signed, all prospective conduct is banned immediately. So if you have a unfinished frame or receiver in your possession now, it is illegal as of this moment to turn it into a completed firearm in the state of Nevada.
Right.
Now, same goes to if you are a dealer or you're an individual and you possess it, you can no longer sell it, offer for sale. So when it comes to the conduct that would have been pre-existing at the time of the law's passage this past Tuesday, so if you already owned a unfinished frame or receiver, we call them non-firearm objects in the complaint because that's what they are. They're matter that are not guns. If you own those now, or if you own a firearm that is completed, that you self-manufactured, you have until the first of the year to dispossess it. And despite the fact that the law attempts, seemingly anyway, to give you some lawful opportunities to do that, really none of them actually work if you look at them closely. And so really the only option you're left with, if this is lawfully owned property of yours, is to dispossess it, which is probably going to mean handing it over to the authorities or rendering it permanently inoperable. And either one of those are not good options as far as we're concerned. So the case, really hinges on two different claims. The first is a Second Amendment claim with the 14th Amendment folded in because we have a state actor here. Right. But in short, because the bill is so broad, it is not only banning conduct, but it's also banning arms in common use. So because any sort of gun, regardless of what it is, if you self-manufacture it from a non-firearm object, it's banned. You're not allowed to possess it. And there's no out. There's no, oh, well, you can keep it if you do this, or you can keep it. You can't have it. It's illegal. And because Heller makes clear, firearms in common use are protected by the Second Amendment. So that's problem number one with the law.
Right.
Problem number two with the law, as Second Amendment violation goes, is it's banning constitutional conduct. So manufacturing your own firearms is a tradition that goes back before the time of the ratification in this country.
Absolutely.
And we have historical analysis in the complaint that makes really clear that going back to the colonies and even before, self-manufacturing of firearms is something that is rooted in the law of this country. And so an outright and categorical ban on that conduct also fails constitutional muster. So that's the first half of the case.
Okay.
The second half of the case relates to that lack of a grandfather clause. And so the second half is, basically a takings claim. It's showing that people who have lawfully acquired, lawfully possessed property that they paid for and then they built are basically given 6 months to get rid of it, to destroy it. And unfortunately, that's just not how substantive due process works in this country.
Right. And I mean, it would be unconstitutional from that aspect, in my opinion, anyway, regardless of what the object was. If it was a car and they were like, oh,
Yep.
if you have a Hilux that doesn't pass emissions, you have to destroy it or, get rid of it within 6 months. That's completely unconstitutional. The state does not have the authority to do that. And what's crazy really about this law is, like I was saying in the intro, is that, I do this, I run this channel as one of my professions, right? So I tend to pay relatively close attention to what's going on as it pertains to Second Amendment issues. Obviously, I don't know every state law inside and out, but this is a huge one. It's huge, and I just heard about it the other day. So, how many people in Nevada have these items that don't know about this at all, and then come 6 months from now will, according to this law, be felons in possession, right?
Right. So anyone that possesses these items now and attempts to do anything with them other than give them up or render them inoperable runs afoul of the law. So it's really important that, and for dealers as well, if you throw out a table at a gun show and you're selling items that arguably fall within this definition of unfinished frame or receiver, and if you think the ATF's proposed definition of that is gobbledygook, this one, although they managed to only mess it up in a paragraph as opposed to the ATF, which took, like dozens of pages to do it, it's completely incomprehensible. There's no way that the average American could understand what item is an unfinished frame or receiver and runs them the risk of criminal prosecution up to and including felony,
Right?
and what doesn't.
Right. I see your dogs are active.
They are. The mailman needs attacking.
Gotcha. Mine are upstairs right now, so they're quiet. But okay. So essentially, I think we laid out what this law is as it pertains to Nevada residents. And I think it just kind of slipped under the radar because of what you just said, the redefinition of frame or receiver from the ATF that could allow for any given firearm to be now 10 to 12 different firearms. I have a video on that already up on the channel. And then additionally with the California case, assault weapons case, I really think this thing just got buried, and unfortunately people don't know about it, which is why I'm doing this video, to get the word out. And then additionally, going forward, if you're a Nevada resident that owns one of these or wants to own one of them, I mean, like what should they be doing?
So yeah, I mean, I think that it's really been a busy week and a busy couple weeks in the 2A sphere.
For sure.
The Miller opinion in the Southern District of California knocking down the 32-year-old assault weapons ban, which was an FPC case from the beginning, which we're super thrilled in the outcome of that.
And I gave you guys credit in my video, just so you know.
We appreciate that. And then the ATF proposed rulemaking on unfinished receivers, and now the one on pistol braces has hit the Federal Register, I believe as of yesterday. So notice and comment is open on that as well. And then we've got Dave Chipman's nomination, which is also in the mix right now. So I think to a large degree, people are kind of oversaturated with trying to keep up with everything that's happening. And to a degree, yeah, this one has kind of fallen through the cracks a little bit.
Right.
I think the important thing that Nevada residents need to do, take a look at the law. So the law is called AB 286.
I'll put a link in the
Um,
video description, but go ahead.
and the law itself, it's actually nice for once. It's not terribly long. It's
No.
like 2 pages.
Yep.
And it's relatively coherent for a layperson. But the important thing that you need to know is if you currently own or possess an unfinished receiver or anything that arguably falls within that new definition, that you should contact a local attorney in Nevada who can advise you before you do anything with it. Because there are immediately effective rules about the criminal prosecution of the purchase, the sale, or the completion of an unfinished receiver in Nevada. Now, if you have a gun that is already built in Nevada, in theory anyway, by the letter of the law and what 286 says, is you have up until January 1st, 2022 to dispossess it.
Right. So is there, like, does FPC currently have a case? Do you need somebody who has standing? Like, what are you guys doing on that front?
Oh, this case is happening. Oh, it's
Happening.
already filed. Nevada is being sued. So
Okay,
I mentioned in interview I did yesterday with Jared from Guns and Gadgets. We completed the hat trick of litigation this week. So we filed this case in Nevada. We're suing Nevada. We're suing Massachusetts over their approved firearms roster. So
yeah.
they got handed a tasty lawsuit. And then we also sued, oh, geez, what was the last one? We have so many lawsuits at this point. What was the last one? Oh, and Minnesota. So Minnesota got sued also for the right to carry for 18 to 20-year-olds in
Mhm.
order for them to be able to get a carry permit. Because despite the fact that the right to carry in Minnesota is generally not overly regulated, their carry permit scheme is 21 plus. So if you're 18 to 20, you can be drafted into the military, you can enter into contracts, you can be prosecuted as an adult to the full
Yep.
extent of the law, up to and including being executed by the state,
Mhm.
but you can't carry a gun for your own self-defense. So as far as we're concerned, if you're an adult in this country, your constitutional rights apply. You don't have limited right to free speech until some arbitrary age. You don't have a limited right to an attorney until at some arbitrary age. And the Second Amendment is just, it's not a second class right. The
Right.
rights are the rights and they apply to everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. So the case is already filed. That's good. Um, Realistically speaking, what do you think timeline wise? Because obviously it's a law, right? So in order to change it, it's either got to be stayed, thrown out, rewritten, whatever the case may be. Like, what do you think the next steps will be to overturn this? I mean, just before I get to that, it just came to my mind. Like Nevada, I'm often on like gun forums, right, commenting, and people in Nevada are often making comments like, "Come to Nevada, we have machine guns and we're free," right? Well, how's that
Come
looking
shoot
now?
tanks.
Exactly. You know, they're mocking their California brethren. Well, you know, I guess they're getting Californicated slowly. So, what can they? I guess like what do you see going forward with this law?
Right. So I can't speak in too much detail about our trial strategy at this point or about
Oh,
our
yeah, sure.
litigation strategy, of course. I think the best thing that I can advise everybody is to just keep an eye on fpclegal.org.
Okay.
Our comms team really does a good job of putting updates up there pretty much in real time. And it's in chronological order. So every time you reload it and hit refresh, the newest thing is going to be at the top.
Okay.
And keep an eye on our social media. But there will be news forthcoming as to kind of next steps for this case, I think
Okay.
sooner rather than later. So
Awesome.
we should hopefully see some movement soon.
Okay. Good. And I'll also put links to how you can contact whether your state reps, governor, all those sorts of things, because that stuff matters. I mean, it really does. I realize it's already law, but still letting them know it's unacceptable does matter for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, Anything else you kind of want to add on there?
I mean, I think, just kind of in total, the big things that we're asking everybody to participate in, because there are so many things going on at once, it's important to reiterate them all. So
Absolutely.
fightatf.com, go to that link, and then you can submit your comment in opposition to the ATF's proposed rulemaking for unfinished receivers and frames. Go to savethebraces.com, and that will take you to a link to submit your comment in opposition to the pistol brace rulemaking.
Hmm.
And then fightchipman.com gets you to a link that will let you know how you can best contact your local senators to tell them to oppose the confirmation of Dave the Waco Kid.
Hmm.
What we're hearing at this point is that the vote on Shipman's confirmation may be next week.
Right.
So
You got
it's
pushed out a week this week, right?
yeah, so it's time. There's no time like the present for that. And with the rulemakings, we've got 90 days, but the clock's already ticking. So
Right.
get your comments in, call your senator, tell them no on the Waco Kid, and to all my Nevadans, yeah, keep an eye on this case. You should see some movement on that soon.
Gotcha. And all those links will be down below in the video description. All right. Obviously, guys, definitely if you're not already supporting FPC, they are the real deal. I have a regular contact at FPC, not Bill, different one, that I talk to multiple times a week about what's going
You
on.
can call me anytime you want, Mike.
I know. But you have somebody else who's supposed to deal with us. That's their job. So, but anyway, so I talk with them all the time about these things, making sure that I can do my best to let you guys know what's going on. They really are out there on the ground, like you're saying, filing lawsuits all the time. So if you're not supporting them, I definitely recommend it. Like I said, they're real deal, no compromise, Second Amendment advocates, and you can't say that about every gun rights organization out there in America. There's good ones and bad ones. FPCs, they're legit. Um, I guess last question: what's your bucket list dream gun?
Ooh, bucket list dream gun. I think probably full auto MP5,
Mm,
like
yeah,
a legit like
yeah, three.
like 1980s like die hard MP5.
Yeah, yeah. No, they're great. They're really good guns for sure. That's a good one. It's a good one. I'm spoiled because I have several. Yeah. I don't know what my answer would be. Maybe that'll be a video for another day. But anyway, yeah.
Next
Like
time
I
we
said,
file a lawsuit, we'll talk about guns again.
exactly. Exactly. Again, thank you very much for jumping on. This was sort of a last minute thing, but I just really was shocked at lack of information about this out there. So thank you very much for coming on, breaking it down for
Well,
everybody, letting everybody know. And I'll give you a last word if you want to.
appreciate you having us on
Absolutely.
anytime.
Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, you like this kind of content, it's not really what I do per se, but we do a lot of Second Amendment information, informative videos out there. So hit the subscribe button. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you are. And look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.